Everybody has to have a really great sugar cookie in their cookie arsenal. The thing I love about these cookies is that they're great for any occasion. In this chapter, I'm going to teach you how to make a rollout sugar cookie. It's simple, it's classic, everybody needs this recipe. For a rollout sugar cookies, all I need is all-purpose flour, baking powder, salt, butter, sugar, eggs, vanilla extract, lemon zest, and decorator sugars. I always weigh my flour out so that it's the same every time, especially with a sugar cookie, because you want the consistency to be pliable so you can roll it out, but crisp once it's baked. I need 540 grams of flour, or 4 cups. I'm going to use 1.5 cups of sugar, or 300 grams. Perfect. Now I can get started with my mixing. I'm gonna do this with my stand mixer. You wanna make sure that your butter is at room temperature so that everything blends together really smoothly and you can cream that butter really, really easily. Leave it out for like an hour. I'm gonna put my sugar in with the butter. I don't wanna whip a ton of air into my cookies. I do want the cookie to rise a little bit. That's why I'm using a little bit of baking powder in the mix, but I don't want them to really rise out. Otherwise, you might lose the shape of whatever you're stamping out from your rolled out cookie dough. I always like to distribute the baking powder or any leavener in with the flour before I add it to my cookie mix. So my butter and sugar have been whipping together about medium-high for about 2 minutes. It's now like a pale color. The sugar is incorporated with the butter. It has some air whipped into it, not a ton. I didn't throw it up onto high. Give it another few second whirl in there to make sure all of that butter is incorporated. And that's it. You want to add room temperature eggs to the mix. Because these just came out of the refrigerator, I should have had these out on the counter beforehand, but we can warm them up really quickly. Sit the cold eggs in hot tap water just for a couple of minutes. If I were to put those cold eggs into that light, fluffy butter mixture, it would seize up the butter and I wouldn't have that beautiful texture anymore. So I wanna make sure that all of my ingredients are at room temperature. In the meantime, I'm gonna add my homemade vanilla. And then I'm gonna add lemon. I just wanna add the lemon zest. By adding lemon zest, you're gonna see that zest. If you wanted lemon but you don't wanna see the zest, you could always add a little bit of pure lemon extract. I like to use a micro zester so that you're just getting that really nice, beautiful yellow skin that has all of the oils and all of the essence. I would use up to a whole lemon of zest, but you can decide. Oh, that lemon smells so good. Mix that all up. And now my eggs are room temperature and ready to go into the bowl. Add them one at a time. If you add too much liquid all at once, the mixture will almost look like it's curdling because there's so much liquid trying to emulsify into a fat, and so you want to do it slowly. Once I have the first one incorporated, scrape down, make sure that I have everything down into the bowl. Put my second egg into the bowl. Mix that medium-low speed just until those eggs are incorporated and they look light and fluffy. Look at that. Light in color and in texture. And you can see that there's some air that's been whipped into all of it. Make sure there's no butter on the bottom of that bowl. And now we're ready to put the baking powder flour into our mix. Okay. This is sort of a big batch of dough. I want to make sure that all of the flour is going to stay in this bowl. Some of these mixers come with an attachment that fits over the bowl so that it keeps all the ingredients in there. If you don't have that, you can just use plastic wrap and create a little barrier. So let me grab that. Make sure it's not gonna touch the paddle, and then turn it on as low as possible just until it combines. All right, we're safe. We've got a lot of flour in there. There's a lot of opportunity to create gluten. Gluten is great because we need these cookies to have some body, but we don't want so much that we get a tough cookie. Get all of this off of your paddle. Make sure that there's no rogue little bits of butter on the bottom of the bowl and it's all nice and uniform. If I tried to roll these cookies out now, the dough is so soft that it would stick to anything I tried to roll it onto. So I need to chill this down to solidify the butter, let everything marry together. It'll roll out more smoothly. I like to pat it onto plastic wrap so that I can leave it like that. I usually cut the batch in half so that it's more manageable when I'm rolling. I'm going to just take half of my cookie dough. A bowl scraper really helps get the dough out of the bowl for you. Form that into a rectangle. Get it as thin as possible. If I press this into a 1/4 inch rectangle, when I go to roll it, I don't have to work as hard and I don't have to work the dough as much. And it doesn't take as long to chill. And then I wrap it, smooth it out, and then toss that right into the refrigerator. Let this chill for at least an hour before you roll it to really give it time to stabilize, let that butter set, and then it will roll out really nicely. So my dough is nice and firm. It's been resting for an hour, so we're ready to roll. So I wanna show you how to roll it out just on your counter. So just a little bit of flour because you don't wanna make that beautiful dough and then have it glue to your counter. I can always add more, but I don't wanna add too much. You don't wanna introduce a whole bunch of flour to your dough or it might get tough. If your dough is really, really cold and it has no give to it, it's gonna be brittle. Let it rest for about 5 minutes. We want to eliminate as much cracking as possible because when it cracks, we can't stamp it. You can even bang it with the palm of your hand, and that just sort of massages it a little bit. Just the tiniest bit more flour. And now we need to choose our rolling pin. I'm more comfortable using one with handles. It's also a little bit heavier, so it does some of the heavy lifting for me. You want to roll this out in about 1/8 of an inch. I find that's just the right amount of cookie so that it has some body, it has some crisp to it, but it's not so thick that it's going to be either tough or it's not gonna bake all the way through. I always roll away from me and then sort of lift it up when I get to the edge. I don't wanna roll it down and crush the edge. And then to the side, like this, and then towards me, and then I rotate it. And if it's starting to crack, I just massage those edges and I just keep going. The reason that I rotate it, it's so that I know it's not gluing itself to the counter. This is just rolling out beautifully. It's getting quite thin, and so now it's getting harder to turn, so I'm just gonna put my spatula under it and make sure that it's not stuck. That's looking pretty good. So I'm ready to stamp out my shapes. You wanna have your stamps all ready to go, including your sheet pan with a parchment paper so that you have something to put them on. Because as this warms up, it's gonna get sticky. I have my Vermont stamp, because that's where I grew up. And that's where I first remember making sugar cookies. Once I've stamped it, I'm gonna use the offset spatula to help me lift it up, especially if you're doing something large. I don't wanna get in there and pick it up and have it crack. Get as close to the last one as possible so I'm not wasting any of the cookie dough. If it sticks inside of the stamp, you can just carry it over in there. When I was growing up, my grandmother used to make so many beautiful sugar cookies at the holidays, for Valentine's Day, for Christmas, for any holiday, for birthdays, she would make them. Any occasion, they're just wonderful. Even though these cookies are different sizes, they're all the same thickness so that they bake at the same rate. I'm not gonna throw these scraps away. I'm gonna repress them together really, really gently, trying not to incorporate a ton of extra flour into it. I feel like you can get away with that once. I have a nice tray full of cookies, so I'm just gonna dust them with the sugar. Be really colorful and pretty. It's like a party. I love that little cow one. I think it's so cute. This is like a great place to get kids involved in the kitchen because it's so much fun. There's so much color, so many shapes that you can go with. That looks great. I think I'm gonna leave some of them just plain, because that's kind of how I like them. So into our preheated 350-degree oven, bake them just until they're golden, because we want them to be crisp, but we want them to be just a pale golden color, but set. Depending on how thick you rolled out your dough, these can take anywhere from 5 minutes to up to 20 minutes. So we'll come back. It's been about 12 minutes and they smell amazing. They look great. There's a little bit of pale golden going along the edge there. I don't want the tops of them to have much color. These are meant to be really pale. That way they show off the colorful sugar that you've put on top or any other decoration that you wanted to add. They're just perfect, so I want to lift them off of here and cool them on the rack, and that way they'll cool faster so I can eat them faster, but also I know that they won't keep baking on the hot sheet. And then they're gonna have that beautiful, snappy, crispy texture that I love. I love the little cow. So sweet. They've finally cooled off so I can try one. They're perfect. So simple, so elegant, and that little bit of lemon just puts it right over the edge. Everybody should have a rolled sugar cookie in their cookie arsenal. You can go as ornate and crazy and put your personality all over these cookies, but you have to start with a really simple, beautiful canvas. And this cookie is perfect. Thank you for joining me. I cannot wait to see your rolled sugar cookies. Enjoy, have fun.